China's unveiling and gradual deployment of the J-15DT electronic warfare fighter jet marks a significant, yet fundamentally limited, step in Beijing's ongoing quest to modernize its naval aviation capabilities. While China promotes this new aircraft as a breakthrough in its carrier air wing, a closer, fact-based analysis reveals that the J-15DT is primarily an attempt to replicate the capabilities long held by the United States Navy, rather than to innovate or surpass them. Built on a Soviet-era design, the Su-33 airframe from the 1980s, the J-15DT carries the legacy of outdated technology that China has struggled to fully modernize. This reliance on antiquated platforms, even with incremental upgrades, highlights Beijing's persistent challenge, closing the growing technological and operational gap with the United States, a nation that has dominated carrier-based electronic warfare and power projection for decades. The U.S. Navy's EA-18G Growler, which the J-15DT is intended to emulate, represents a mature and battle-tested electronic warfare system with a track record spanning more than a decade. The Growler's ability to jam enemy radar, suppress air defenses, and provide critical electronic support in contested environments is supported by advanced stealth design, integrated sensor suites, and robust communications networks. It operates within a highly coordinated carrier strike group, benefiting from the U.S. military's extensive experience in electronic warfare doctrine and joint force operations. By comparison, the J-15DT remains unproven in actual combat scenarios and is essentially an adaptation of China's existing J-15 platform, itself derived from Soviet-era designs. This inherently limits the aircraft's effectiveness, survivability, and ability to operate in the high-threat environments where electronic warfare plays a decisive role. One of the key shortcomings of the J-15DT is its lack of stealth capabilities. In modern electronic warfare, survivability depends not just on jamming and disruption but on the ability to evade detection altogether. The J-15DT's bulky airframe, inherited from the Su-33 lineage, lacks the low observable features that define next-generation U.S. aircraft like the F-35 and even the EA-18G. This exposes the aircraft to enemy radars and surface-to-air missiles, diminishing its operational utility and increasing the risk to pilots and carrier strike groups. China's failure to integrate stealth into its carrier-based electronic warfare aircraft underscores a broader technological lag that the country has yet to overcome. Furthermore, the J-15DT's electronic warfare systems are largely pieced together from existing Chinese subsystems, such as those found on the land-based J-16D. These systems, while showing progress, do not match the sophistication, reliability, and integration seen in U.S. platforms. The U.S. Navy's ability to conduct complex, coordinated electronic attacks and network-centric operations relies on years of software development, sensor fusion, and real-time data sharing that China has only recently begun to develop. The J-15DT is still at an early stage of operational testing and deployment, and there is no indication it has achieved the same level of tactical maturity. The aircraft's launch from the Fujian carrier using electromagnetic catapult launch systems (EMLS) further illustrates China's pattern of reverse engineering rather than pioneering new technology. The U.S. Navy's USS Gerald R. Ford was the first operational carrier to use EMLS, providing faster, smoother launches and greater sortie rates compared to traditional steam catapults. China's adoption of EMLS technology on the Fujian carrier and adaptation of the J-15DT for catapult launch highlight a reactive approach, catching up to American advancements rather than setting new standards. This technological catch-up extends beyond just the aircraft and launch systems. China's carrier strike groups, including the Fujian, are still in the developmental phase of integrating multiple platforms, fighters, early warning aircraft, electronic warfare jets, and surface combatants, into cohesive, multi-domain operations. The U.S. Navy has decades of experience operating in contested environments worldwide, developing doctrines that leverage electronic warfare, cyber capabilities, and precision strike to dominate adversaries. China, by contrast, is still refining basic carrier operations, deck handling procedures, and coordinated strikes, all while deploying aircraft based on legacy designs with limited stealth and network integration. Strategically, the deployment of the J-15DT underscores a reactive posture. Rather than leapfrogging U.S. technology, China's defense industry continues to rely heavily on reverse engineering, incremental modifications, and adaptation of foreign designs. The J-15DT's role as an electronic warfare platform is an admission that China's naval aviation has long been deficient in this crucial area, and the current iteration is a stopgap measure pending more advanced systems. Despite heavy investment, China lacks a stealthy, next-generation electronic warfare fighter for carrier use, meaning it remains behind in critical capabilities that would matter most in high-intensity conflicts. Operationally, this gap has serious implications. The J-15DT's limited stealth and improved electronic attack capabilities reduce its effectiveness against modern integrated air defense systems and advanced enemy aircraft. This leaves China's carrier strike groups more vulnerable during operations, relying on dated tactics and technologies against well-honed U.S. and allied forces. While China aims to present a narrative of rising naval power, the reality is that it still struggles to match the sophistication, training, and combat readiness of the U.S. Navy's carrier air wings. In the broader geopolitical context, China's focus on copying U.S. carrier technologies and electronic warfare capabilities reflects its underlying strategic vulnerability. Rather than innovating, Beijing is forced into a reactive stance, trying to counterbalance American technological dominance with incremental upgrades and fleet expansion. The J-15DT is symbolic of this struggle, a platform that fills a recognized gap but does not confer parity with U.S. forces. It is unlikely to alter the fundamental balance of power at sea, where American carrier strike groups continue to project unparalleled power with proven, stealthy, networked aircraft and decades of operational experience. China's introduction of the J-15DT demonstrates ambition but also exposes significant weaknesses. Built on obsolete airframes, reliant on reverse-engineered technologies, lacking stealth, and limited by minimal operational experience, the aircraft cannot match the U.S. Navy's decades-old lead in carrier-based electronic warfare. While China may claim progress in modernization, the reality is a military still chasing shadows, scrambling to replicate American strengths without the innovation or battle-hardened expertise to turn copies into credible combat power. This dynamic ensures that the United States retains its decisive edge in naval aviation and electronic warfare for the foreseeable future, as China continues to stumble through the difficult process of transforming borrowed technology into genuine strategic capability.